Hello and welcome to the 20th episode of our Elevating Events for Omnichannel Engagement series. Events are one of the richest channels for HCP engagement and life sciences, but life science companies struggle to maximize the ROI and impact of events. And events typically operate as a standalone channel that's completely disconnected from the omnichannel engagement stack, and reps have very little involvement in event orchestration, and they just don't have the visibility to action relevant follow-ups. And our mission in this series is to help marketing, brand, medical, and event professionals finally bring events to the omnichannel table, just next to approved emails, rep visits, and HCP portals. My name is Pierre Metrailler, and I'm your host today. And this episode is brought to you by Onomi. And in this session, we will be discussing the 3 secrets to transform HCP medical education. So I'd like to welcome an expert in the field, Daniela Clape. And Daniela is a seasoned healthcare marketing and business development professional with over 20 years of experience helping pharma and healthcare organizations thrive in a very competitive market. She's currently leading strategic growth at Xpeer, and she'll be talking a lot about Xpeer, by the way. And Daniela specializes in creating impactful solutions that enhance engagement with healthcare professionals. Her expertise spans innovative marketing strategies, global partnership, and leveraging data-driven insights to drive measurable results. Daniela has earned a reputation as a trusted advisor in the pharma industry because of her collaborative approach and her forward-thinking vision. She's committed to advancing healthcare marketing through education, innovation, and meaningful industry collaboration. Welcome, Daniela. Very good to have you with us. How are you today?
I'm very fine. Thank you for having me, Pierre.
Excellent, excellent. So before we kick off, as usual in this series, we would like to hear from you, and we'd like to hear more specifically and we've chosen a very broad question. So we'd like to hear what's the most challenge, the biggest challenge that you've seen when you are engaging, the biggest changes that you've seen when you're engaging HCPs. And we're just gonna launch this poll, and you'll find it on the right-hand side on the live stream under the poll tab. And while you're responding, we'll get things kicked off here with Daniela. So Daniela, the competition for HCP attention and engagement has never been greater. I was reading this weekend is now the attention economy, right, as people call it. And I think it's probably very true also in pharma. And HCPs want knowledge. They want fast facts, and they want hard science. They just don't want to get the fluff that a lot of pharma companies shares, and they want it on their terms. And medical education is one, if not the, but it's an important part of the commercial strategy. And organizations just don't want to be left behind. So from your perspective, what's the vision for CME this year in 2025, but also beyond?
The real challenge of continuing medical education, I think, isn't just about delivering content. No, it's ensuring it drives real change. Here's a number that should make us all rethink our approach. 80% of what HCPs learn is forgotten within a week, if not reinforced. Yet, as an industry, we continue to measure registrations, clicks, and attendance rates, right? But let's be honest, none of these tell us if a doctor actually learned something, right?
And actually remembered what was said, so yeah.
Yeah, so it's time to shift the paradigm, I think, and really measure new things, measure what I call deep engagements, and change our gold standard KPIs. For me, 25 should be about, moving beyond the traditional KPIs and going more into completion rates, for example. Are they staying engaged until the end? Engagement time, are they actively absorbing the content, and behavioral shifts? Are we seeing knowledge translate into action? No? At Xpeer, and I dedicated myself the last 6 years to try to find a recipe to get this attention from the HCP, and we achieve 88% on average video completion rates.
Let's just pause here for a second. What you're saying, and this is the hook for everyone who started to watch us, to stay with us, because you're going to teach this audience how to make sure that what's this 88 video completion rate? It means that out of 100 people watching, 88 will actually watch it to the end.
Yes.
Wow.
That's
Okay.
completely that. So
Okay.
yes, the how-to, we'll see that in a minute. But I think this is the main point, starts switching the way we measure success in how we deliver content. It's about making it sticks, and we have to stop measuring vanity metrics. The future of CME is about real engagement, real learning, real impact. So let's make the shift. And thank you, Pierre, for bringing this topic today. And I hope it will help our audience.
Okay, that's cool. I think now everybody is going to stay with you until you actually teach them how to. Maybe that's the secret, how to you basically make a big claim and then you tell them at the end, so they really stay at the end. Now, just kidding. There's much more to that. So let's see a little bit, what people think in terms of the biggest changes on how that they've seen in engaging HCPs. And I'm just going to show the results now. And so we had different things. So we had more demand for async on-demand content, need for personalized content, understanding what works, measuring effectiveness. And I would have said, I'm a bit surprised. So 40%, the majority, say that understanding what works, measuring effectiveness is the biggest change that they've seen. So interestingly enough, they don't really see a change in the behavior or anything. It's more like, what they get at the end and what they measure. I guess essentially echoing what you've shared. So I guess you were not preaching in a desert. Would you have bet on something else, Daniela?
No, I think that the audience is pretty much aligned with what we've been already discussing in these first few minutes. And it's the basic challenge we face, you and I and the audience every day. Like we know, I think, what the HCP wants. I think that now it's clear. But what we miss is the measurement of success and how to demonstrate that this kind of investment of effort worth.
No, I think we aligned on that. So that's good. Let's do it. So now straight into it. So if you told us 3 secrets, how to get to that 88% completion rate. I'm just going to put this up there because I think it's huge. Now, what's the recipe to meet today's HCP's expectation?
There are 3 major ingredients, but you will see that there are many little things behind these 3 main topics. But the first secret ingredient, by far the most important, and it shouldn't be a secret. In fact, if you want your content to have a lasting impact, make it on demand. It's not a secret, it's a fact. The on-demand strategy is almost never used in the sector, and when it's demonstrating that it works. So all these webinars, all these Congress symposia, this expert panel, you invest so much time, effort, money in, they deserve more than just a one-time audience, right? And yet less than 3% of these valuable contents are optimized for an on-demand strategy. So there is a game-changing stat I want also to share today. 73% of traffic to this type of content happens on demand. So that's very important to have this strategy in mind, because the impact of this content can be 5 to 10 times bigger than just having it live. So how do we make it work? And what is the recipe? Don't just upload the full sessions as they are. First, slide them, edit them into 5-minute videos, each with a clear, engaging title so HCPs can jump straight to what matters to them. Put your content also where HCPs are. A static website or a forgotten repository won't cut it. Your content needs to live on channels that are active, that have engaged traffic already from your audience. Very important now, invest in a real marketing strategy for the on-demand. A couple of email blasts won't do the job. To make on-demand work, it needs a long-term promotional plan that keeps bringing in viewers again and again. Let your content live longer too. And on Xpeer, we keep content available for the HCPs 1 year or 2 years or even more to benefit from the organic traffic. Now we will move into a real case study that I wanted to share today. We organized, so to illustrate all these topics, we organized a live webinar on postpartum hemorrhage. In this case, we had 1,000 registrations, that's good. But as expected, the usual, we had an attendance drop by 50% on the day of the event. That means only 500 actually showed up. Now, 500 attendees might seem like a decent KPI, but let's be real. What about the other 500? What about those who couldn't make it to due to their busy schedule? No, this is where on-demand really changed everything. Instead of letting the content fade into oblivion, we optimized it for the on-demand format, applied the strategy I just shared, and guess what? We multiplied engagement by 5. So that's right, 5 times more HCPs accessed and engaged with this content. And the best part, we didn't have to multiply the budget by 5 to make it happen. That's important. More impact, higher ROI, better learning outcomes. This is the kind of transformation possible when we stop seeing continuing medical education as one-time events and start leveraging on-demand strategies. Right?
And Daniela, just on this, because this is cool. And by the way, if anyone who is watching us, you have any questions, we also here. There's a Q&A tab on the side. But one question for me: how did you bring them back? Because you say, hey, just a couple of email blasts isn't going to make it. I mean, you have this 1,000 who registered. I guess you knew who are the 500 who did not join on the day off. Like, how do you engage with those 500 who did not join?
Yes, there a full strategy in place. That's why it's important to invest in a real marketing strategy for the after event, for the on-demand. No? So on our side, it works with several types of strategies. Obviously, to the registered who couldn't come, we email and so on. But most importantly, we repurpose this content. It's now a full on-demand piece, and we market it again and again throughout the year with different digital marketing strategies, newsletter, push notifications, social media, meta ad campaigns, so a full range of things. So we have to invest. This is a key message, no? It's not just sending it to the ones who didn't attend, but why closing this just to the events? No, let's put this content out there to the wider audience. No, this is the secret.
And there is, funny enough, somebody, Annette from the audience, just asked the exact same question, which I've put up. What and how did you drive the on-demand views? I think the one other thing that you've shared, which perhaps for you sounds basic, but for a lot of us, it's not. It's the time span. A lot of people think that, your content, you have to use it, and then maybe you do on demand for a couple of weeks and then you move on. But the people that I've seen, I don't know if you've seen that, and it seems, what you're saying is 12 months. They keep reusing content for a long time. And people, for some reason, there's this idea that you only use it once, and maybe you do like 1 or 2 campaigns with for on demand. But the reality is you can use it again and again and again, and it will still work. That's one of the misconceptions. I don't know if you have more to share on this, because that's kind of it's kind of a big thing here.
That's one of the secrets. That shouldn't be a secret, but for example, misconceptions, no, as you were mentioning. So we had that client with a vaccine campaign, and they just wanted, because it was the flu, to run it in the winter because this is the flu season. But what we see is that the content is still there on Xpeer and used in July, in August. It doesn't matter because it's training and people come and go whenever they want. So the important thing is the HCP should be in control. They are in control of their time, of their training, and they should be allowed to access the content on their terms. This is what you say as an intro, and this is what they want and why it works.
One other question we did get from Andrea here, and it really seemed that you're striking a chord here with with what you're talking about. How to improve the marketing strategy without annoying the target population? I guess without people like receiving that email and just say, leave me alone, please. or said otherwise. Said otherwise. Let's flip this. What are the usual mistakes that you see from people who try to market on-demand content via email that they're doing it wrong?
I I think it will be shared in the third secret. So
Okay, we'll go
be
there.
patient. But a short answer is
you know how to keep that. All right, Andrea, you'll have to wait. Okay,
yeah.
next up, Daniela.
Yes, no, short answer is personalization, but we'll get there. Yes, so in my intro, I was saying that we have to shift the KPI. So this is the usuals we see on this case study registration attendees views. But let's move to this deep engagement interaction that we want with the HCP. So in this case, for example, and this is what we should measure, we see an average time spent on this same webinar, the same case, 88 minutes. Imagine 1 hour and 18 minutes of undivided attention of the HCPs watching your video message. This is what we want. And this is because we apply these strategies online. Completion rate also is high. I told you the average, we have 88%. In this, it was 90, but it's high. It's thanks to these strategies, you will improve a lot this completion rate, and you will get to your audience. And satisfaction obviously is high, 4.8% also. So this is the kind of KPIs, and we can argue a lot around that, but we have access now, thanks to the digital world, to a lot of insights. Let's use them and really measure what is important. No, so basically, yes, that will be for the on-demand.
Let's just go here for a second, because I know I'm going to get the question. Completion rate, you say that's how, number of people who watch through, is it like really 100%, or do you target it at like 80% of the duration?
Yes, 80%, I think. We think it's
a good standard,
we
right?
put it as complete.
You need to say if you watch 80%, it was a completion rate, right? Great.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is the kind of KPI.
Yeah, just one question. Sorry, you're getting slammed by question, but I guess they're good. Are these completion rates for both the live and for on demand?
For this case, yes.
Okay. All right. Good. So everyone knows now that's the benchmark. So let's do it. All right.
Good. So yes, for me, this is about measuring to really make a difference, no? Because this is why we do CME in the first place. So now we can move on to the second ingredient for me, the right format, no? And we know that for years, traditional learning has followed the same outdated model. So we have long lectures, static content, low engagements. HCPs are forced into passive learning with no real interaction, accreditation delays. No, they don't have access to the diploma right away, so they don't have a reward for their time. And finally, limited access. If they miss the session, too bad, there is no flexibility. No? So this doesn't work anymore. HCPs don't have time for endless lectures. They need fast, flexible, interactive learnings. That's where bite-sized micro-learning changes the game. No? On Xpeer, this is what we apply: short, engaging videos that fit into their busy schedule, high interactivity with videos with case studies, quizzes also we use, and real-world application like today we are talking about. And accreditation, they have a reward. We are the only app that is accredited by the UEMS, so they have their diploma instantaneously without having to wait. And the mobile first approach is very important. 75% of our users are mobile users, so we have to deliver the content also in a format that fits that small screen. No? And just a good data also regarding that, microlearning improves knowledge retention by 50%, no, compared to traditional methods. So we know what works, but we are still using, why are we still using outdated methods when we know there's a better way? And I think we have a question, right?
Well, we don't have one question. We actually have a lot of questions. But to pick one, and I think we can move on. But what I would like to unpack here for a second is when people think medical education, they typically think that KOL who shows up in slide review or in faculty review with 40 slides deck. And you've seen this for years, I've seen this for years, and we all know what's going to be the problem. If you don't if the first 10 minutes, I think there's even data, like if you don't make a very strong engagement every 20 minutes, the human brain will switch off. And what you've put up here is just this menu of things, which could be a bit overwhelming for people who probably still do PowerPoints out there. But this is just like a bunch of ideas, like go and do like half of this, and this is just going to be like 5 times better. And by the way, we have a live example today. We started your presentation, and you clearly struck a chord with people. So we started to get questions, and I started to interrupt you and put up those questions, which is probably annoying to a lot of people. But the fact is, because we did that, we did get more questions. And then because we're going to get more questions, it also means people are like, probably like, are we going to answer this? And then somebody said, well, actually they answer it. So now and you totally changed the dynamic of this webinar, because suddenly I feel like, this is not just the 2 of us, but I feel like there's like 50 people who are like, hey, we want to know this, we want to know that, please tell us. And that's exactly what you're suggesting here, like turn your webinar in a sort of a crowd, crowd activity where people participate. And I really want to talk about one thing. Talk us about the rewards. What do you mean?
Yes, I mean, we all are fighting for their attention, not the attention of the HCP. So giving something in return, like a diploma, like if we have a live webinar or an online course that is accredited, will make the difference when the HCP choose your content. No, so this is the type of reward. It's not just that the content is interesting. I mean, of course, the content has to be interesting for them, but obviously they will also complete the course more likely or stay more time if at the end they have something in return. And for the HCPs, a diploma is of worth. Yeah.
Very good. Here we don't give certificates, we don't give points, we don't give diplomas, but we have a little gift for all of you, so stay until the end. Now, there's a question, which I feel is a bit of maybe it's a trap question. I don't know for you, Daniela, but you advocated on demand earlier. That was your secret one, and now you say you have to make it interactive. And we've got Tanya who is asking, like, well, how can you do both? Like, how would you handle on-demand webinar attendee if they would like to ask question and it's not live?
Yes, well, they can still ask their question, obviously after, but I really believe that interactivity, you have the live component like today, but there are many ways to have interaction with the audience, and not only through questions, but also in the format itself. So bring more cases, read stories, include storytelling with the QLs, presenting. This is really a game changer. Also, we use techniques like audiovisual techniques, like change the setup, like now focus on me, now focus on the slide, or there are many ways to put interactivity. And the whole point is not to get bored. So yes, that's what I would say.
Excellent. Tanya, just for your information, if you're interested in the topic, one of the sort of middle ground to do that between on demand and live is this thing called SimuLive, where essentially you replay the webinar. It's not on demand, right? It's just another replay. You pretend it's another event, but you essentially replay the webinar. And then you have the Q&A section at the end, the last 15 minutes, which is actually live. So you actually bring the people who, or some other people, a panel of experts or KOLs who would be ready to answer the question. And what we've seen, and perhaps that's not so much a CME format, but maybe direct pharma engagement, where medical education engagement, where that works really well, especially if you want to localize the content or the engagement, right? You could have the international version of the webinar, which is on the SimuLive, and then you may have the Nordics panel, you may have the France panel, you may have the Germany panel, and they're all 3 different sort of SimuLive. But anyway, that's just one thing I wanted to share. Okay, very good. Hey, we need to move. Then what's the third secret?
Yeah, it's the personalization. So we already know it's an important ingredient, but it's personalization of the content, but also in the marketing. So that was a very good question before. How do we avoid being too invasive with this content? So it has to be personalized. For example, on Xpeer, what we use is an algorithm. We have kind of an AI algorithm that you see content according to your specialty, to your country, language, and to also what is working for your your peers, no? So with this, we are not invasive, but on the contrary, we engage them more. And the same applies with marketing techniques. We have to personalize the emails to the audience. We have to include content that is relevant for this audience specifically. And this is where we can improve a lot the click-through rate of these emails if we include, for example, a video of the QL, the trailer of this course or this webinar, for example, and other, let's say, KPIs, like we will improve also the conversions of these emails and attract more traffic not to our content with clear CTAs, also click call to action, sorry. It's very important to have clear CTAs in order to drag the traffic to the content.
Okay, so Daniela, the 3 secrets: 1, on demand; 2, interactive; 3, personalization. So I think that's super clear. Now, you just put that number up here, 80% increase in conversion, super impressive. Now, how do you actually measure that impact, you know, for CME programs? And I think that's actually one of the questions. Somebody who's asking, like, how do you measure clinical practice in order to target a message? Anyway, I don't know if that's one of your points, but let's talk a little bit about measuring.
Yes, I mean, for us, what is important is that when we do an email blast to our audience, so selecting the right persons with this message, so we include a video, a summary, and having a compelling, like, one thing we ask for the user is go to the course, and that's it, a button. You know, you have to have clear CTAs, click call to actions, in order to, yes, to convert more. So that's easy. That's pretty basic, what I shared today, but it works.
It works, and still a lot of people are not necessarily doing it. Okay. And there are several questions here, like, how do you measure things like clinical practice in order to target a message, and how do you, so the question is more like, if you have to go further in terms of impact, like, you know, a lot of pharma companies would like to go out, come and say, hey, thanks to this medical education activity, we have observed a shift in, you know, in clinical mindset of X%, right? And the question is, how do you do that?
Pre and post tests. So how do they come? How do they go out of the course? We ask the intention to implement into their practice. And finally, we do follow-up surveys and interviews during time or full time in order to ask them if they really change something. So this is how we do it. There are many ways to do it, but yeah.
Oh, great. And by the way, when the problem that I've seen when you do these things is that it's a lot of surveys, and then people get a bit fatigue. And you said we don't get fatigue, we don't observe fatigue, because we use the rewards mechanism, and that drives this higher completion rate. Excellent. Okay, so I think we're getting towards the end of this session, which was super interactive. So thanks to everyone who stayed with us. We still have our gift. So, but before we, maybe we can take one more question, perhaps, and there's more question coming. We just wanted to ask you, what would you like to hear from us? You know, and what would you like to do next? What would you like to try? What resources you will be interested? So just let us know. And while we're doing that, maybe one last question I'm going to take. Which was around, you mentioned social channels to promote the videos. Which social platform do you find the most successful, and what type of budget would you expect, that's a difficult question, to get the 2,500 on-demand views that you claimed?
It's cheap in the end, and we use Meta. So other secrets.
So you're saying Meta
works.
is, okay, I didn't see that coming, interesting. Okay, very good. All right. So Daniela, maybe if you wanted to share a little bit, like, if people are interested, you know, in learning from you, learning, you know, more about Xpeer. Let's
talk. Find me on LinkedIn. Please download Xpeer, so you will see all these that we talked today put in practice. Feel free to join us, and also keep an eye on your email, because we will send soon an invitation for more trainings, more tips and tricks of this style. No, we have what we call the Digital Engagement Excellence Program on Xpeer. So yes, keep an eye on it.
All right, and you promise to do this in a way that's, you know, non-boring, super engaging, but you're also going to do this for the next 12 months. So we're looking forward to see you. Okay, and you know, maybe a last word from us here at Onomi. So if you haven't heard about Onomi, we are what we call event-powered omni-channel. So an event platform that helps pharma companies, you know, really achieve their omni-channel on events. And so one of the things that we're doing is that we're running this series of different episodes. And actually, one of the things that always come up when we talk about event engagement is compliance. And actually, I'm very pleased to announce that on April 1st, and it's a bit sad that it's on April 1st because it's a real thing. We're going to host Rena Newton from Code Clarity. I don't think she needs an introduction. If there's anybody out there, especially on LinkedIn, who is like, I'm going to call her the queen of compliance, and or she is the person who talks compliance in the no BS way, like no one else does. And she is like very clear. She's always asking, you know, the right question. And she's also super helpful in helping everyone overcome their compliance challenges in your organization. And we're going to have a dedicated session, especially on events and compliance and how to unblock and to unlock, I would say, these different problems that occur when I would say compliance shows up. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining. And Daniela, also, it was fun. Thank you for sharing your secrets, and looking forward to see you soon. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.